Welcome dear viewers to the video on transport validation in the pharmaceutical industry. You might be aware about the validation activities in the pharmaceutical industry. I have made many videos on the validation and this video is regarding the transport validation. We know that the storage of the medicines, drug product is very important because it affects the quality parameters of the drug product and because of which the safety and efficacy can get affected. Similarly, during transport, the storage conditions are required to be maintained as per the product storage recommendations and the labeling instructions. This video will provide the important information about the transport validation. Transport validation and GDP, that is good distribution practices, are interlinked. A crucial part of the GDP is the transport activity. Ensuring drugs maintain the quality, safety and efficacy during the transit is very much important and is very much critical. And the transport activity, transport validation is very important for temperature sensitive pharmaceuticals. If there is a sudden change in the temperature, it may affect the quality parameters. Transport validation is required for the regulatory compliance across the global markets. Many of the formulations are imported and exported from the countries, and during this transit, the temperature change or temperature excursions can affect the product quality. So, this forms the basis for the transport validation. There are various guidelines provided by the regulatory bodies. EU GDP guideline provide the transport process validation. WHO also provide cold chain and packaging related activities and information. USP 1079 chapter provides environmental controls and excursion handling. Similarly, there are different guidelines available from ICH, FDA, and all these guidelines covers the risk assessment for the transport and how the transport process validation can be carried out. There are various steps in the transport validation. So, first step is risk assessment. In risk assessment, we need to identify the critical parameters like temperature. Across risk like delays and handling errors. Sometimes because of the delays and the handling errors, transport activity becomes critical. Also, if there are delays and handling errors, it may affect the quality parameters. Then is the route mapping. Document full transport path and duration. Include transfer points and modes. Temperature mapping. Use data loggers to map the internal temperature zones. Simulate worst case conditions. For example, there are some climatic conditions like or climatic zones, you can say. So as per the climatic zones, temperature mapping is required to be done. Summer and winter conditions are required to be simulated to study the impact of temperature onto the drug product qualities. Packaging validation is the fourth step. Qualify cold chain or insulated packaging. Confirm duration protection for the shipping. These are the steps. Then stability data supports. So use stability studies to define the acceptable temperature excursions. Also, we need to find out the time period during which this temperature can be more or less than the recommended temperature range. Qualification runs are required. Conduct the trial shipments and use real-time or time-stamped data loggers to understand the effect of temperature variations. Documentation and reporting. Record all results and deviations during this activity and create a validation summary report for the transport validation. Change control and revalidation. So required for the route packaging and method changes and maintain ongoing compliance for the validation activities. Now we'll see the importance of transport validation. Maintain the product integrity and patient safety. Supports regulatory compliance required by the regulatory authorities like EU, WHO and FDA and many other country specific requirements. It reduces a risk for the product recall or loss because of the faulty transport or because of the delays, because of the risk involved in the transport. It ensures audit readiness and traceability, and it builds trust between the stakeholders and the regulators. So if you have a perfect data for the transport validation, then it will build trust with the stakeholders. Also, it will provide evidence that transport system is validated, transport activities are validated, and it also assures the patient safety. Also, product recall, batch recall can be reduced. So, transport validation is not optional, but it is a mandatory requirement by the regulatory authorities. Follow risk-based, documented, and qualified process for this activity, and use global guidelines and the stability data to design the robust strategies. Continuously monitor, document, and revalidate the activities. This is regarding the transport validation in the pharmaceutical industry. The transport validation activity becomes very critical for the temperature sensitive APIs, temperature sensitive products, or you can say the formulations. As we know, we perform the stability studies, we perform various activities to understand the stability of the formulation. Then we need clear information and understanding about the storage conditions and label instructions for the storage. So all these are linked together along with the good distribution practices to the transport validation. So always consider that the product is required to be stable throughout the shelf life, and transport validation provides the evidence that during transport the storage recommendations are maintained, and that's why transport will not affect the product quality. Thank you for watching the video, and I request you to please do like, share and subscribe to this channel. Share these videos with your friends and colleagues. Also, there are various videos available on this channel on different topics in the pharmaceutical industry. So this channel will provide you the thorough understanding and in-depth learning for the pharmaceuticals. Thank you for watching the video.